that will be future held to tell, because I don't think they've made a proper decision yet there what they're going to do. But when it comes to us, we have a pre-accelerator that starts next week, and that thing had to move online quite that in the same vein that we now had with the Startup Marathon. We changed that also to be all digital, and we have 12 teams that we're going to have for that. So it's looking promising still. We haven't had a first event, but on that, but we had, running things digitally, for all of those of you listening, and you have to do it. Wow, it's so much harder than doing it on face-to-face. At least if you're used to face-to-face. Yeah, somehow, everything takes on average 50% longer. If I tell you, for example, please in your team draw a picture of your website, a draft of your website. In a normal setting, I would give you guys 5 minutes to do it, and I could go around and say, draw faster, please draw faster. Like I'm quite not a hectic, but I have a tempo on my workshops. If I do the same in this digital environment, people cannot cooperate that fast. It's just one person speaking at a time. You cannot speak on top of each other at all, because you lose the audio from the people when that happens. So it gets like turn-based, almost political when you're talking. It's almost like, Your Honor, I'd like to speak. It's almost like that. Things like this. I don't even know all the issues, but the result is that it's much slower. And then also, for example, let's say I'm presenting something. I usually don't use slides. I just talk, and I'm quite interesting anyway on stage. But when it's digital, even though I have my face there, it's not enough. It's not interesting enough. People lose interest, and they cannot follow the story properly. For some reason, using slides instead of your face is a huge advantage. It's much, much better. So and then the third one, all the tools you have to be prepared really well, so that go here, here's the link, click here to go into this tool, because every minute lost, you just lose so much time so fast. It's just somebody's lost, they can be lost for a long time. You have to have people ready to troubleshoot if there's a problem. So you have to have like a backup team. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you have to look at to make a good online event. So we have tried now. We've had 2, and we have the third one coming up on Tuesday. So we're getting better at it. But you know what? I'm talking a lot here. I guess that's what the podcast is for. For all of you considering doing an online thing, do a little test. That's kind of real, if you can. This is almost like an MVP or a prototype. I'm going to do a 15-minute workshop on this topic, and then invite 5 of your friends, or 5 people who are interested in what you're talking about. And then you're able to notice all these problems. So when you do the real one with 50 people, you've already gone through the most basic problems that can happen.
I like the idea of giving this kind of tryout. I'm just thinking, who would be the 5 people I would talk to into having half an hour with me doing some trying.
You're doing all this podcasting stuff, so I bet there's a million people extra in the world now thinking of doing a podcast. So you could have that. We're going to talk podcast for half an hour, and I'm going to have you do some exercises during that time. And
yeah, we actually started in our Twitter. I started a thread the other day. If someone is interested, we are ready to do a couple of workshops about how to do podcast. So if someone from our listeners would like to join that, feel free to contact us via Twitter, send me a personal message in LinkedIn or in Facebook, make a comment under, for example, our YouTube video. So there are a few ways to contact us. Don't hesitate, ask questions, join. As soon as we have a bit of a crowd of interested people, we'll announce the time and so on. Yeah, I think it will be interesting. Let's go a bit to a positive side. Do you think there is actually something, in a sense, better with the online events or online workshops than the face-to-face ones? Like
the transportation issue that you solve, that you don't have to transport yourself, so you're able to have people who are maybe geographically kind of in a weird place can much more easily join, and you can have people who are, time zones is still an issue, but you could have somebody from, we could have a South African join our hackathon or be a coach, because the physical distance is not so important anymore. Well, actually, we had a contestant from Egypt in one of the situations, and his internet was just a little bit lagging, so it was a little bit difficult to work with him. But we had another one from the Emirates in another in the same workshop, and that worked fine. So I guess the internet quality is of course important, and the distance. Even data is fast; it only travels at the speed of light. So if it's on the other side of the Earth, there's still a delay.
What would be generally your advice, besides giving a tryout with a group of people you trust? Any advice, any tricks from you to run a successful, say, online workshop? Because I know that you have done lots of workshop on coaching.
I would say there's a lot of tips here, but I mean, this podcast might be only about that then. But yeah, sure. I did it with most basic things that was for free. So we used Google Hangout in the first event. And that means we had one Google Hangout room, was the public room where everybody was. Then we had every team had their own Google Hangout room with their own link. So that was the way that they were moving in between the rooms using this link. This exists more or less automatically in Zoom educational version. So we now have that version of Zoom. So you can use that as well. But we did it down and dirty as the most easy way that we could. So you had two channels there. One was the main room, then you have group rooms. Then you need a back channel. So you have the first fallback line is WhatsApp. So you can communicate with all the participants, and the participant can connect with each other through a WhatsApp group. Then if that for some reason wouldn't work, you still have to have everybody's phone number. The best thing is everybody in the whole event has everybody else's phone number, so if anything happens they can still reach out. For example, somebody disconnected from a group, then he could call the people in the group instead, and they were only a pair. So if the only one's pair mic didn't work, then he could then call to the other participant in the same group and have the phone call instead of having a online meeting, and then they move back to the main room where he was mostly listening anyway. So that you need to have this like trenches, like you have to be able to go backwards into this. Okay, that this thing didn't work, then we go back to this, and if this didn't work, we go back to this. So you have to have that prepared. You cannot do it alone very well. Like I run workshops alone before all the time. Now it's almost like you're handicapped. You can't do it alone well. It's very hard. You need somebody to help you with troubleshooting where people cannot hear, something doesn't work. You need that extra person. For example, if your own internet goes down, you can call to the second person who will put up from the phone, will put up his phone towards his computer microphone, and then you, the person who cannot talk online, can then talk through the phone, giving instructions that way to the group discussion. So there are many ways that you can. I mean, some of them allows you to call into the meeting as well. But there are these tips and tricks of the trade. So be more people than you think you might need, because you cannot do it alone. You need at least one more person. Have these back channels, so the official channel. For example, if it's a webinar, have the webinar, but also have all the participants in a WhatsApp list where they can communicate before and after to reach out to each other, and then have a support person. I think those are the key takeaways.
All right, that was insightful. Thank you. So, as a person who is also involved in a startup, do you think it will be a time to sit back and develop this stuff, or shall we all prepare that everything will go really bad?
I think it's going to go bad. That's my thinking. I haven't been in this type of crisis before, but even what has already happened will take a huge hit in the economy. I'm Swedish, so I read a lot of Swedish news. Now, those of you who are familiar, Sweden is taking a more I would say controversial approach to dealing with this crisis, with almost doing nothing, which is kind of interesting. But even so, they are predicting, even with their whole economy being open more or less, they are predicting a downturn of the economy this quarter of 6%. Now, what is that much or little? You might not know, but in the Great Depression, the fall was 2.5% per quarter, and Sweden is projecting a 6% fall in one quarter. So you can see that this is the biggest fall of the economy that the West has ever, the Western world, the modernized world, have ever seen. And we have no idea how long this is going. If it's going on till Christmas, we will have lost almost a year of production. We'll lose so much wealth that we will be beyond anything anybody has ever seen who is alive today, at least from a modern country. And I don't know how long it will take to catch back from that, but I think you got to be ready for a real economic downturn.
I don't even know if I want to save this question. It's like the negative way to end a podcast. We all will die. The economy will die. So let's.
That from that perspective, it will, you just got to be ready that that's going to happen. Things is going to change, and some things will be easier. Like you see, there now you have this send food at home, all kinds of online services. Like, its purchasing behaviors are changing, and because you're an entrepreneur, you're able to adjust much more easily. It's the big companies who sell the same things over and over again. They will struggle. So all of you entrepreneurs listening, you'll be fine. You'll figure something out, but it will change. Customer behaviors change. They might hold their pockets more stronger in some areas, but they'll still spend in other areas. We're still humans. We still want to use our money, but it's going to be a little bit of a change in behavior.
All right. Thank you, Rasmus, for this interview.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
This was it for this week. Thank you for listening, and let me remind you that Tribecast is an independent media working in close cooperation with Tribe Tampere startup community. Next week we'll continue giving the voice of the local startup ecosystem, and for now I wish you all a nice weekend and a happy Easter. Join us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, Google Podcast, or whatever your favorite podcast platform is, and stay warm and tuned.